Captain Vorn of the Galactic Empire sat rigid in his command chair, staring at the holographic display in absolute disbelief. His 3 eye stalks twitched independently, a sure sign among his species that something had gone catastrophically wrong. "Run that scan again," he ordered, his voice tight with restrained desperation. "Tell me, right now, that the sensors are malfunctioning." His second officer, a nervous creature named Pilk, manipulated the console with trembling appendages. "Sir, I have run the scan 7 times already. The results remain identical." Vorn released a low sound that translated roughly into a groan mixed with existential dread. "So you are telling me, without any doubt whatsoever, that the humans, those soft, fleshy bipeds from that insignificant water planet, have destroyed the entire Gormath battle fleet?" "Yes, sir. The same Gormath fleet that conquered 14 systems in the last rotation." "The very same, sir. The fleet with 60 warships, each capable of glassing a planet." Pilk's voice dropped even further. "Affirmative, sir." Fawn rose slowly. All 4 of his legs trembled. "Impossible. Completely, utterly impossible. The humans had achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 cycles ago." 3 cycles. Most species required 50 just to determine which end of a plasma rifle pointed at the enemy. He had read the initial reports on Earth with mild amusement. A species that had spent thousands of years fighting itself over resources, ideology, and sometimes because they were bored. They had nearly annihilated themselves multiple times using primitive atomic weapons. Their diplomacy often involved threats delivered across tables while consuming fermented plant matter. They were supposed to be easy prey. The Gormath had believed that too. "What exactly do they use?" Vorn asked, though he already feared the answer. Pilk summoned a data file. "According to the few escape pods we recovered, the humans deployed something they call, and I quote, a kinetic bombardment system." "Kinetic?" Vorn blinked. "You mean they threw rocks at them?" "Not precisely, sir. They accelerated tungsten rods to 90% light speed using magnetic propulsion. Each rod carried kinetic energy equivalent to multiple fusion detonations. Gormath shields, optimized for energy deflection, proved entirely ineffective against solid projectiles at relativistic velocity." Vorn felt pressure building behind his primary brain. "So let me understand this," he said slowly. "The Gormath arrived at Earth with overwhelming force, issued their standard demands of surrender, and the humans responded by throwing metal sticks at them?" "Extremely fast metal sticks, sir." Pilk continued, voice tight. "The first volley disabled the flagship. The second erased it. Within 20 standard minutes, the entire fleet had been reduced to expanding plasma and debris. Did anyone retreat? 17 vessels attempted to flee. The humans had already positioned smaller craft throughout the system. They deployed what they referred to as drone swarms, thousands of autonomous units that saturated Gormath defenses through sheer volume. One survivor described it as being consumed by a swarm of insects." He paused. "Insects armed with nuclear payloads." Vorn collapsed back into his chair. Everything had changed. The Galactic Empire had been preparing its own expansion into human territory. It was meant to be swift, profitable, routine. Humans possessed resources, developing technology, and, apparently, an unsettling talent for efficient destruction. "What are they doing now?" Vorn asked quietly. Pilk hesitated. "That is the most concerning detail, sir. They transmitted a message to the Galactic Council. It was brief. Display it." The hologram shifted. A human female appeared, clad in a military uniform. Dark skin, close-cropped hair, eyes steady and hardened by experience. Her name tag read, Commander Lisa Grant. She spoke in flawless galactic standard. "To any species considering hostile action against Earth or its colonies, we offer a single warning." Her voice was calm, measured. "We are tired. We are finished fighting each other. We spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war on ourselves." A pause. "Now we have larger concerns." Her gaze did not waver. "Test us if you dare. We will not be gentle. We will not be merciful. We will be efficient." A final beat of silence. "Consider yourselves warned." Grant out. The transmission ended. The chamber fell silent. At last, Vorn spoke. Cancel the invasion plans. All of them. Immediately. Sir, High Command has invested significant resources. I do not care, Vorn interrupted sharply. Tell them the truth. Tell them we have encountered a species that treats interstellar warfare as routine. Tell them the humans destroyed the Gormath using weaponry so simple, so obvious, that we never even considered it. He stared at the drifting debris field where the Gormath fleet had once existed. These creatures spent millennia waging war against themselves and survived. They adapted. They advanced. His voice hardened. And we will not, under any circumstances, volunteer to become their next demonstration. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened in an emergency session. Vorn stood among hundreds of species representatives, each more agitated than the last. The circular chamber buzzed with nervous chatter in dozens of languages. Ambassador Threx, a towering reptilian from the Sindari hegemony, slammed his clawed hand on the podium. Order! We must have order! The room fell silent, though the tension remained thick enough to slice with a plasma blade. We are here, Threx continued, his forked tongue flicking nervously, to address the human situation. As you all know by now, they have demonstrated military capabilities far exceeding our initial assessments. Demonstrated? Squeaked a small, furry delegate named Bimpix from the rear. They obliterated the Gormath, turned them into cosmic dust. That is not a demonstration. That is a massacre. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Vorn raised one of his appendages. Permission to speak, Ambassador? Granted, Captain Vorn. Your intelligence reports have been illuminating. Vorn stepped forward, his eye stalks scanning the gathered representatives. Fellow delegates, I've spent the past 3 weeks studying human history, culture, and military doctrine. What I have learned is frankly terrifying. A multi-limbed creature named Glorp leaned forward. Terrifying? They are barely beyond their own system. How terrifying can they possibly be? Allow me to provide context, Vorn replied, activating a holographic display. Humans have been engaged in near-continuous warfare throughout their recorded history. Not occasional conflicts. Not territorial disputes every few generations. Constant, unrelenting, inventive violence. They have devised over 40,000 documented methods to kill one another. That cannot be accurate, Threx protested. It is entirely accurate. They weaponize the atom. They weaponize disease. They weaponize sound, pressure, electricity, chemicals, even information itself. They fought a war that lasted 100 years. They fought another that consumed their entire planet and killed over 70 million of their own species. The chamber erupted into shocked gasps and horrified whispers. Vorn continued, his voice steady. But here's what truly disturbs me. After each devastating conflict, they did not collapse. They did not regress. They analyzed what they had done, refined it, and became even more efficient at warfare. They turned destruction into a discipline. And now, finally unified and looking outward, they have turned that discipline toward the stars. Bimpix hopped onto his chair. So what do? We cannot allow them to expand unchecked. They could destabilize the entire galactic order. The Gormath believe the same, Vorn said quietly. They are now a debris field orbiting Earth's moon. A tense silence followed. Perhaps we should strike first, suggested a tentacled ambassador named Quorum. Pool our resources. Launch a coordinated assault before they fortify further. Vorn's eye stalks drooped, a gesture of pity among his kind. Ambassador Quorum, with respect, you are proposing a galactic war against a species that invented mutually assured destruction as a deterrent strategy. They practiced nuclear brinkmanship as policy. They built enough weapons to annihilate their own planet multiple times over, simply to prove a point to each other. Then what do you suggest? Threx demanded. Before Vorn could respond, the chamber's main screen activated without authorization. The same human commander from the previous transmission appeared. Commander Lisa Grant looked even more exhausted than before. Greetings, Galactic Council, she said, her tone professionally polite, edged with steel. Apologies for the interruption, but we intercepted your communications. Your encryption protocols are inadequate. You may wish to upgrade them. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Grant continued. We are aware you are debating whether to attack us. Allow me to save you time. Do not. I repeat, do not attempt this. Not because we are monsters. Not because we seek conquest. But because we have spent millennia fighting one another. And fighting you would be disappointingly easy. She leaned forward, her expression softening slightly. However, we did not come to the stars to continue that cycle. We came to explore, to learn, to trade, to build something better. For 10,000 years, we perfected warfare because we had no other outlet for our competitive nature. Now we do. We can compete in trade, in science, in art, in sport. We can race toward distant stars. We can challenge ourselves to solve the impossible. Grant smiled, not threatening, genuine. So here is our proposal. Leave us alone, and we will leave you alone. Trade with us fairly, and we will reciprocate. Respect our boundaries, and we will respect yours. Attempt to conquer us, and you have already seen the outcome. She straightened. Humanity is tired of fighting itself. We would strongly prefer not to fight you. But understand this clearly. If forced to choose between peace and survival, we will always choose survival. And we are exceptionally skilled at surviving. Decide carefully what kind of neighbors you wish us to be. Grant out. The transmission ended. The chamber remained silent for exactly 15 seconds. Then Threx cleared his throat. A move that we formally recognize human territorial claims and initiate immediate diplomatic relations. Seconded, Vorn said without hesitation. Thirded, Bimpic squeaked. All in favor? Every appendage, limb, tentacle, and pseudopod in the chamber rose simultaneously. Motion carried unanimously, Threx announced, relief unmistakable in his voice. As the delegates filed out, already discussing trade agreements and cultural exchange initiatives, Vorn found himself beside Glorp. Do you believe they meant it? Glorp asked quietly. About preferring peace? Vorn considered the question carefully. Yes, he said at last. I believe they did. But I also believe they meant the other part. Humans are capable of profound cooperation and absolute devastation. History proves both. So what happens now? Vorn gazed up at the star field beyond the chamber's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, humanity was building, exploring, and perhaps, finally, learning to seek peace beyond itself. Now, Vorn said softly, we give them what they ask for. Peace, trade, respect. Because the alternative is something I never wish to witness. Glorp nodded slowly. The galaxy was not ready for humanity. No, Vorn replied. But perhaps, just perhaps, humanity is finally ready for the galaxy. If this story entertained or taught you something, please like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us grow and bring you more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next story.